Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew Shorts. Today, I have a few stories for you in the rSlash entitled people subreddit, all posted by the same user and their encounters with entitled people on airplanes. So, without further ado, let's just jump into it, shall we? Entitled airline passenger tried helping themselves to my upgraded seat. I used to fly for work a lot. I have so many entitled people stories, it stopped surprising me to run into this behavior. This is one such story. Being someone that used to fly a lot, I constantly was upgraded to business class, first class, or simply just upgraded seats using miles. Since this was a connection for me, I arrived and boarded later than most of the plane. As soon as I walked onto the plane, I saw someone was sitting in my seat since I had been upgraded. Now, if you fly enough, someone sitting in your seat is not an uncommon occurrence. Excuse me, I believe you're in my seat. Entitled person does not even bother looking up at me, waves his hand dismissively at me, and said, "Let's just switch seats so I can sit beside my wife." Sure, what's your seat? Snickerdoodle. Now, I do not remember exactly what seat number he said, but it was the last row of the airplane. Aisle seat, right by the bathroom. Yes, I have had to fly in those seats in the past. Remember, my assigned seat was in the first class / business class section. Now, I have switched seats with people innumerable times in my life without a second thought. But the way this guy was behaving and what he was expecting, this was not one of those times. I'm just going to sit in my assigned seat. Well, I want to sit by my wife, so I am not moving. Well, if you want to sit by your wife, I'm sure whomever is sitting way back there would be more than happy to switch seats way up here, so you can sit back there with your wife. He didn't like that at all, for what could he really say at that point without sounding like a jerk? He just stared at me. Move! I am not moving. Ding! Darn right, I pushed the call button. Yes, sir, how may I help? I hand her my ticket and say that he is sitting in my seat. She asks for his ticket, checks both tickets, see his number, and, in my mind at least, gave him a look of, seriously? Sir, you need to sit in your assigned seat. I want to sit beside my wife. Well, I wasn't missing a beat and parroted my original statement about me being sure whomever was sitting back there beside him would be more than happy to switch seats and sit up here. Boy, oh boy, that obviously made him angry. Ma'am, would you like to switch seats so you can sit by your husband? No? Well, sir, you have to sit in your assigned seat, so please gather your things. What a sad and pathetic sight it was seeing this grown man act like a baby, gather his things, and then sulk towards the back of the plane. Yes, his wife sat beside me that flight and didn't join her husband in the back of the plane. No, we didn't talk or look at each other, even once, which was perfectly fine with me. Imagine dismissively expecting someone to give up their first class seat to sit in the very last row of the airplane by the bathroom. Entitled Airline Passengers Armrest War. Well, quite a few of you asked for more travel stories. Here's another one. Every single person that has flown knows about the armrest war. Who gets it? When you need to claim it, how you have to keep it. But this particular entitled person engaged in a whole new armrest war I had never encountered before. Unfortunately for me, I had to change a flight last minute, which meant I ended up with a dreaded middle seat, for the flight was pretty well booked, and to make it even worse, it was another connecting flight, which meant I was boarding later than everyone else. As I walked towards my seat, I see a woman sitting in the aisle seat on my row. Now, if you travel enough, you also know about sitting beside people that need a little extra room. People come in all shapes and sizes, and some just don't fit in the ever-shrinking airline seats. As I go to sit down, she not only was sitting well into my seat, but she also had the armrest up. Awesome. A new armrest war I haven't had to deal with before. After squeezing in my seat, I went to put the armrest down. What are you doing? I'm putting the armrest down. No, you are not. I need the extra room. Well, I want the armrest down. I proceeded to try and get the armrest down, but she was putting up a fight and was yelling-ish something at me that I cannot remember. To be honest, I wish I handled the situation a little better, but instead, I rammed it down as hard as I could, for I was not going to have to fly sitting the way I was. She let out a yelp and was fuming, muttering under her breath. Ding! She pushed the call button. May I help you? Snickerdoodle! Now, she didn't actually say snickerdoodle, I just don't remember all the rubbish that came out of her mouth. When you are in shock about a situation, some of the exact details get more blurred. What I do remember is her complaining about how rude I was putting the armrest down, how uncomfortable she was, so on and so forth. The flight attendant listens to the lady, looks at me, turns, and walks away, obviously to try and figure out how to rectify the situation. Fine by me. If I get moved, any seat will be better than this one. If she gets moved, I'll get an aisle seat. It seemed like 10 years went by as I sat squished in my seat when the flight attendant comes walking back and says, "Sir, there has been a no-show in first class. Please gather your things and follow me." Me, stunned. Entitled person, stunned. I look over to the woman sitting beside me and say, "Miss, why don't you go ahead and take the first class seat?" I insist. Just kidding! I jumped up so quickly, did my best to make it out of my row, and happily made my way to my new seat. I never did make eye contact with that woman. I can only imagine the expression on her face. Well, at least she got her extra room. Entitled airline passenger tried to claim my underseat storage. As can be expected, in a larger airport, I arrived to my connection gate after boarding already started. As I go through the slow death march into the plane, I arrive to my seat to see that the foot space of my seat is already packed solid, way into the foot space. I asked the person sitting beside me if it was their stuff, to which they replied that they had no idea whose it was. While I certainly wasn't going to be sitting with such limited legroom on a multiple-hour flight, so I start removing all that stuff. I hear from several rows up, "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" "Oh, someone stuffed all their things in my foot space. Is this your stuff?" Now, I look where she is sitting and she has nothing in the foot space in front of her. This woman really expected someone else to be inconvenienced and made uncomfortable by her stuff during the long flight. Well, I obviously picked up the last of the items stuffed in my foot space. "You put that back." She didn't scream it, she didn't yell it. She just assertively, unexpectedly told me to put her items back under the seat in front of me, and then gave me that stare. "Lady, I'm not going to fly with all your items jammed in front of me. I want my leg room." I walked up to her and she made it clear she wasn't going to take the items from me. So I pushed them in her arms, let go, and said, "If you don't want to fly with all these things in front of you, what makes you think someone else does?" Turned and walked away. Did some of them fall on the ground? Yes, they did. Did I care? No, I didn't. Could I have been nicer about it? Maybe. As I sat down, I saw her picking up the item or two that dropped, stand up to realize there is no overhead space left, and proceed to stuff them under the seat in front of her. I love this OP so much. Their take no shit attitude is fantastic. Honestly, harshness is needed sometimes with entitled people like this. If they're just enabled and given whatever they want all the time, then why would their terrible behavior ever stop? I mean, I know people like this will probably never stop acting entitled anyways, but it's just nice when they get the old razzle-dazzle of defeat every now and then by people like OP. But anyways, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed those entitled people stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!